sovereignty and stuff like that. I know back when Dennis and I we were down in Minneapolis, and he went and met with the Manitoba and Dakotas at that time. I just came back from there too again, and it was they're doing $800 million a year in their casino, and they were talking about the lands that you have near Minnesota, near Minneapolis there, and they're not too happy about recognizing the Dakotas from here. But your lands were right close by there. It's all about the ability to look after yourself and be able to have something. Here in Canada also they don't want you to have casinos, they don't want you to have cigarettes, they don't anything that you can have of your own, they don't want you to have that. And I know our young people right now are they want to work, they want to do some things, they want to get some things done, but I know my community, some of our young people, they're playing video games all night long and sleep all day long. And Albert and I talked about that. Like I said, Albert was 85 in November, and he's still working, still doing gardening, still picking potatoes, working in the field. That's some of the stuff that we got to be talking to our young people about. Is just being able to look after yourself and not relying on government. And that's what we were talking about before. Is that the reason for the trip to Iran? It takes us out of Canada. It takes us out of the United States. They don't want your history being told outside this country. I know Calvin and I, years ago we did protest and when what is that guy's name that Sakharov or something like that came in?
Yeah.
Getting an award, a Russian, getting a human rights award, and we went there and I was young, didn't know what the heck to do. Calvin came along and we relied on it, and then we got brave.
Before you go on.
We told them, it says, what about the human rights here in Canada? That's what the media picked up on. But here's the imagery that the core history. That's the stuff that they don't want you, they don't want anybody knowing, especially in the stateside. They don't want you, they want you guys having this they don't want anybody seeing this stuff. It's not something that they're proud of. In Minnesota, they talk about, they welcoming back the Dakotas. Well, we wrote to them and said, well, we're talking about justice for the Dakota people, but what about the land? Where's the land? You can't have justice without the land. So why can't you have a casino in Minneapolis that'll make $300, $400, $500 million a year? That's where your land is. There's land in this oil. They call it the Bakken Formation. There's oil in southwestern Manitoba. There's oil in the North Dakota, Minnesota, Saskatchewan. That's all available, and that's why we're going to these OPEC nations and say, okay, well, why can't we get some help to develop that for ourselves? And that's what Canada just gets scared of. They demonize the Iranians and they say, well, they blow up everything. They're terrorists. Well, that's what they said about us too. And that's what they said about the Vietnamese. But the Vietnamese never killed anybody in North America. They got invaded in their homeland. The same thing as their history. That's the kind of imagery they don't want to see. And what I'm going to be asking the Iranians is to build a museum here that tells that history, the real history, not whitewashed history, just the real history. They did. They invaded the lands, and this is 1890. Of course, a lot of you know that. This is 1890 Wounded Knee. But they did a lot more than that. And so that Human Rights Museum in Winnipeg, they talk about the Jewish history. They won't talk about what they did here. graves, 1890. That kind of history they don't want people to know. But you build a museum here in Manitoba and you can tell the real story. People will fly from Germany, Italy, China, Japan, all over the place. They want to know about it. And here's still people, in the 70s, came to Sioux Valley, and you're still singing. There were some of the only people that were still singing, still dancing. A lot of people have left it. So I think it's very important that your history be told. And this is the kind of a concept that we had about the museum. Just artwork. Wasn't really nothing final. But that's the kind of stuff I wanted to look at, a museum like that, telling the history. And the Iranians and the OPEC nations, they're saying, well, they stole everything from them. And that's what I'm saying to about us, they stole everything from us. They won't let you have a casino. Here in Brandon, of course, they don't want you to have nothing. Sioux Valley had a chance there for a casino. They won't let that go through either. So that's what I told my people at Roseau. I said, back in 1990 when I brought in the VLTs, we had a chance for $100 million casino. And what happened? People said, oh no, we got it. West Region chiefs, they went to the province and they got VLTs. We made an agreement on VLTs and bingo. And then on tobacco, when we bought into tobacco, well, they went to the province and said, oh, you should get tobacco tax rebates. That's what they got, tobacco tax rebates now. They got VLTs now. They don't have any, the province is in control of everything. You got your child welfare, and that's, UTC. That's all provincial again. UTC police, same, all provincial. So what they're saying is that what they want, what we're trying to do is get after real money that can help in terms of business development. But the thing that we gotta all understand, Frank Brown and the people that are, they got the 66 charges. What's going to happen with Frank, and I know it, I've been there. In the end, people will kind of say, well, how much money are you making? Or, where's the money going to? Where's my house? My house isn't being repaired. How come my kids are getting hockey or things like that? I think one of the things we got to do, just learning from history, is that back when they were fighting, they're fighting back. A lot of things that happened. There were people that were opposed. They were afraid. It's okay to be afraid. But one thing I'm very clear about is that what will happen if you stand up. Other people will say, hey, you better be quiet. Don't be like that. But that's how come American Indian movement, when they went into, when they started the 65 people take over Wounded Knee back in 1973. 1973 and 1976, there was 65 people died there. Still racist down there too, but not in those towns. But that's where the casinos came from. That's where they talk about sovereignty. Most people didn't even know what the sovereignty meant. But I think it's about yourself, and he's absolutely right when you go to court. You just stand there. Those are immigrants that are in that court. They're immigrants. They came to these lands, they have no rights whatsoever here. And that's the position that we're taking. We're saying, well, the only rights you have are over your own people. You don't have the rights over us. We never lost our sovereignty. So what I would say to you guys, if I were in your position and you had land in Minnesota, just go buy up a piece of land, even if it's 10 acres. Go occupy it. So that's some of the things that your young people are looking for. they won't let you have a, you know, $30–40 million casino here in this area. Well, go do what you need to do. There is a good $300–400–500 million casino down there. It's occupied. Just do it. I think that's what the people are looking for. You know, saying, how do you get money? What can you do? And, that's the thing. This story has to be told. And, the way I was kind of envisioning that one here, Winnipeg. You know, I think that maybe went into the summer solstice, winter solstice. But I'm going to ask the Iranians to help us. And everybody thinks that it's just the Iranians. The OPEC nations, there's Saudi Arabia, there's all kinds of. There's one lady that we were talking to. She's from Harvard. She's trained by Harvard. She only that group she represents only does $1 billion or more in projects. You can't go to them with $100 million project. It's too small for them. That's how much money they have. So it's $2.7 trillion a year that the countries that are importing oil are paying to the oil-producing countries. There's 2.5 million barrels of oil a day that comes through here in these pipelines. And that's why Canada is very, very scared of anybody like you guys that say, well, why do I have to listen to you guys? Why do you have to listen to the white people? They're just immigrants here. They don't like that. That's why when you go to court, they say, well, what right do you have to, you know, what laws do you have to tell me what to do? And show me a document that says I surrendered. Never did. So I agree fully with that. I'm just here to support, but I'm just telling you that I want to do this. The other thing I would like, and I'm going to ask you, when we go into Iran, we're going in on next Monday. A week from now, we're going to go to Geneva. On the 11th, we're going to go into Tehran from Geneva into Tehran. We'll be there for 7 days. And so inside Iran, we'll be meeting with a whole bunch of business people, lots. And everybody's scared to say, well, what are you going to get killed? And when you look at it, there's a lot of us got killed. When you look back, take a look at all those people that died for years, how many funerals we went to. I think it's time to get it and tell that story. That's why the Dakota is so important. Your story has to be told. That's one of the things they don't like. They don't like you telling your story. They want you to be quiet. They don't want the story to be told. And the Iranians and the Arabs, they all got their oil stolen. And now they're still trying to do the same thing to you on this oil that's Bakken shale, the gold and everything else like that. So I'm the same way as what Dennis went through. I mean, they got me as soon as I got the $80 million settlement last year. 2 months after that, they kicked me out. Just a little bit of rose of gratitude. That was. I kind of laugh at Dennis there. He says, we've been here 13,000 years. And so I was going to say, well, that's about how long you were trying to steal that particular woman there, Dennis there. Finally got one. They toughened him up. But anyway, I'm just here just telling you that I'm very supportive of what you're saying, what you're doing. I really believe in sovereignty. It doesn't come from the government. It comes from here. It comes from that. Comes from the fact that you're here first. That's the way I believe. But it does take to inspire the young people and get them to stand up. Got to remember that Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, Pontiac, Geronimo, all of them were betrayed by their own people, and there are people that are scared. They don't like to stand up. things I would like to ask is that we have to get a suitcase full of little stuff, like little gifts and stuff like that, maybe chokers or like a piece of beadwork or earrings. But things like that we could give away any gifts and things. Pretty well gave away all my stuff, so I have to give somebody some small gifts and pictures. Some good pictures and things that maybe people do. But that's what I'm going to tell you. Well,
You're in front of me.
Thursday, we're going to be in Saskatoon, but without a Dakota chief or chiefs, like recognized chiefs, where it's hard to be in there because they'll dismiss us. Not the Iranians, but the Canadian government, the American government say, well, nobody. There wasn't anybody went there. And the chiefs have to be there talking about, asking for signatures. It's difficult because it's not their trip, and they say, well, you guys want to do this, but it's sort of it's something that when they come back, maybe on a no-fly zone in the United States. I mean, not across the border or something, but I want to challenge them, and that's why if you go occupy that 10 acres or buy 10 acres near in Minneapolis, just go build some houses or do something with it for 10, 20, 30 acres. Go find some land near there where your lands were. And say, this is ours. Ours and ours. You don't need permission from the American government or Minnesota or anybody else. But as soon as you start building your casino, everyone will move in on you. But you can make $300-400 million a year. It's just challenging people to say, well, Albert's always talking about the 38 that were hung over. That's Minnesota saying, welcome back. Thank you for welcoming us back. Where's our land? Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to tell you. We're going to go do what we need to do. And it's not for everybody, but not everybody will want to do that. Dennis, I like trying to go around, but and we're Saskatoon.
I have a little presentation for the Dakotas. We used to take besides that.
I'd like to be able to put that up in the Iranian part of the saying to us. If the Dakota were to show that imagery, talk about human rights and human rights violations in Iran. Well, what about human rights violations in the United States? What about the human rights? What about the 600 murdered missing women in Canada? What about the 90% unemployment that's in your community? You're talking about 90% unemployment. There's 60 to 95% unemployment in most First Nations in Western Canada. And then you end up then there's the students that aren't being in school. Then there's the jails are all filled up with our people. Those are human rights violations. They just deliberately, everybody talks about the residential school, but they're still doing that. There's 10,000 children in care in the province of Manitoba. So they're just pulling those kids out of their communities, and they're being fostered by Filipinos and Hindus, and they're learning Filipino language now. So if we want to do something for our kids, then we have to be able to look after ourselves, and that's what I'm saying. Is that it's all about being able to have real business development. In Saskatchewan, there's 33 urban reserves. They've converted 800,000 acres of land to reserve status. they're moving ahead in Manitoba regards. So this urban reserve they talk about in Brandon or in Winnipeg or Portage, that's doable. And what the hell are we going to ask permission for? That's my attitude anyway. Thank you. I didn't want you to go out of your plan. No, it's the Dakota issue here that dealing with your sovereignty, your right to. You've got a whole long history. What have we done to your people? That's got to be told to the world. I'm going to do everything I can to help in that process. I think that the United Nations are there. They had in Iran, they had 120 with them about three weeks ago. So they got a lot of access to a lot of different countries. Not just one group that we're meeting with. And I want to send 20 kids a year, young people, who are training in Iran on financing. I'm scared the hell out of everybody because they'll say, well, you're just training terrorists. But no, you're training people that will know how to raise this finance. You got 90% unemployment. Most of the people are all they're just not getting anywhere. They find out. Years to help them back. And we're 10 years now. How many times we different political groups. We're still the same way here. We're going to break it. And, that's the direction I'm going in anyway. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
And I'll let you win once in a while.
I'll let you presume once in a while, but not win. Anybody want to say anything before we start again?
I'd just like to thank Terry for that presentation. I really feel that we should have some of our leadership go
You still have pockets, boy.
I think you should take Craig to his presentation over.
You're volunteering, Craig. Thank you, sir. We'll be in Saskatoon on 2 days from now. The chiefs in Saskatoon are supportive, and they want to. We're probably getting some financial support from them too. But there's also another group. Gordon and them are going to. There's some of them that are going to go with. So it'll be a first trip. There's going to be more. So the first trip is going to be just trying to see where we'll go from there. And the Canadian government is just scared or no help for us to go. They don't want us going anywhere.
Well, I think the Saskatoon chief, the FSIN, and those guys, they want to support First Nations that are into sovereignty or, doing projects like oil and casino and banking with their own laws. That's what we want to support. So we're inviting some chiefs that they want to support. They're asking me to go over there too. I want to support that Chandi shop. And I said, of course, I need support. financial support, we don't want, support on letter, motions, and that doesn't do any good. We need, actual supporters, getting into that business themselves, supporting it by buying those cigarettes and also, asserting their rights. Because that's what needs to be done. You can be nice to the government all you want, but the funding cut is still going to continue, and it's still happening. And it's not going to stop. When we fired our lawyer, then we got into that second lawyer. That second lawyer, I mentioned the cap funding, and he said, did you know that? I said, yeah, I know that. He said, that fund, that cap funding, it's designed for it to be gone. He said, there'll be no more funding. He said, that's why they designed it that way. He said, so if you look at it right now, the funding is starting to cut right now. And it's affecting everybody. And it's not going to stop. So when it goes away, the province is going to look after you. And that's why I asked in court, and asking the province to give me a documentation that states Dakota agreed to be under provincial jurisdictions. They haven't. So that's where we're at right now. But sovereignty is the answer to the future, because the Creator created us and gave us the laws to the land, to the laws to the people, the laws to Him, and that's what we're not following. That's how come we're in this condition right now. We're in this shape. Because in His Constitution of survival, how your diet is in that Constitution. There's certain animals you eat seasonal. We're not doing that. We're living on click and garlic right now. That's how come we're sick. We need to go back to the laws of the Creator, how He designed everything for us. We need to go back to that, and that's sovereignty. And the design that federal government has for us and the province, why? Because that's not the way we were structured by the Creator. So, we have support all over the country. I know I have a lot of people support that want to go into this sovereignty instead of following, the federal jurisdictions and provincial jurisdictions. There's lots of them out there that want to come out and do what we're doing. And some of them are, that they can't get their chief and council to understand what's happening. But, I can understand some of the chief and council the way they are, because, they're constantly attacked by their own people, and they have to focus on the people and not focus on what's really happening. That's the problem too. So, survive. They have to work together. And that's what's needed right now. So with that, you know, I just wanted to say that. Anybody else want to say something before we start talking about Salviki?
I want to mention that GRE, you know, that guys in Six Nations, they weren't being allowed, they were being raided and everything else like that. Now that Jerry Montour and that Ken
And
those guys, they're worth about $800 million because they quit trying to make money they didn't quit trying to make money in Canada, but they also, they're suppliers to the German army, they work with the Chinese, they do all kinds of stuff outside the country. This is one of the things I wanted to do with the Iran trip, was to try and get our young people to believe that we can go outside the country, go make money outside somewhere else, because that's what they don't allow us to do. And the smoke shops in Ontario, Irene Starr has a smoke shop in Alderville in Ontario. She's a multi-millionaire. She was from Sandy Bay. She married over there. But that's what they did with all the smoke shops, individual smoke shops. They just kept going. And so, you know, that's one of the things I'm telling people is that, you know, there's no reason why it has to be all government or, you know, the red reserve. It could be individual smoke shops too and stuff like that. But I know right now they're breaking the trail right now for that, with some of these smoke shops, but eventually, like Frank said, he doesn't want to stay in the smoke shop business, he just wants to make sure that he can open it up. And I think that's one of the things that we're talking about is that more money, having the ability to look after yourself. But again, thank you. Mia.
well, thank you, Terry.
Yep.
Om takepi. Watcha te o statue, a bench use of it.
Oh,
Well, contact us to that. A better cha, iblis kacha. Well, contact us. Yeah, see, it's a tail, walk it over. Young like it. It's a hana. Well, contact us. There's Gawina there. Could be Huliga. Chanupa. Makande, Sampa Takus, Shakoi, Makani Koike, Kana. Tatanka have to be Chakuda. That's how come I say thank you every morning to the Creator for giving us that sacred pipe to the Tatanka Wayate people. That's that prophecy we talk about. The prophecy is what sovereignty is all about. It's in our spirit. It's in our body. And as long as the Dakotas have land in Canada, our people will die for that land. It can't be taken away from us. There was just a vote tonight for self-government here in Brandon. People said, some of my whole family said, "You're here to vote." I said, "No, I'm here for a meeting." You know, I've been on this political trail since 1982. When I went to the Four Nations, I said that the Dakotas are not refugees. I am not a refugee because I haven't given up. A lot of you people sitting in this room, if not all of you, you haven't given up. What do we have to lose is the first question I asked when my elder, Albert, invited me to a meeting Minnesota. That's when I said, what do we have to lose? You know, we've lost a lot of things, but we haven't lost our spirit. And nobody can take that spirit away from you until you decide, until Wakanda decides. Albert, wanakuo after. I hope I live to be long as Albert here. Because you know what, today I'm ready. I want to go to the spirit world before my children. But you know what? I'm a great grandpa now. I want Kobe, Robert, to remember me. This is the right thing to do. And I've said that many times. And I've said also too, why can't we have a pipe ceremony before we have these meetings? Why can't we put a pipe here? Because that's what we're talking about. And if anybody is going to be talking about sovereignty, it's our people that have lived it as best they could. Elders like Albert, and some of our people that have been in the political situation for some time. They're waiting for you to go and ask them, help us. Because this is the time we do need help. Because if you don't do a good job, it's not going to end, but it's a little bit of a setback. But you know, how many setbacks have we had? So many that we can't even count them today. There's nothing to be scared about but fear itself. And if you don't deal with that fear, it's going to kill you. Or if you don't deal with envy, or jealousy, or anger, or hate, they'll also kill you. Because I pray every day. Isto wek suma pecha, wakanta kata, tukashida, taku na awekta zo achiro. Hachere ma kochi na kan, chantewa stea, chante sutaya, uiek me mani oma chino. I ask for forgiveness of the people that I have hurt, and for the people that have hurt me. Rather you forgive me or not, that's not the issue. I'm already free. You have to deal with it yourself. Those are the things that we have to talk about. And it's the elders that have to come out and help. With that, I say, we talk with.
Well, I'd like to say that, you know, we've all expressed our views and our thoughts to what's happening. But you know, I don't fear assassination. I don't fear jail. That's not what it's about. It's about law, our law. the law the Creator gave us. And the way we used to live, the way we used to structure ourselves. You know, back in the day, you look at Sitting Bull, he spoke for everybody. But he spoke of what the other chiefs tell him. He's the main one to speak with nation to nation. It's the other chiefs that have people following their people. They meet just like this, turn on, okay. Then all the other chiefs come again. And they discuss what they want to discuss. And when it's discussed, they give that order to the ascender one that speaks for these chiefs. And these chiefs speak for the relative. And you know, this vision I had, my grandfather said, "Dere Dakota, uhiya tido, uhiya tido, nakotan shido, dere wasna kan tega kapido, etan." Everybody's saying it's going to be a long process, he said, long court process. It's not going to be, he said. You just have to be who you are, he said. And be who you are, he said. You'll win right away, he said. Now, I believe that. But Dennis touched on it when he was talking. You know, is it Frank going to represent me? He said. You know, that's what we got to go back. Who's going to represent Dennis's family? All his siblings, all his relatives. I can't say who's going to represent me because my job is here. I'm representing my people already. Look at these two Tahashis. Which one of them are going to lead the people? Or maybe they'd rather stay home and do dishes and do laundry and do floors. You know? That's the, you know, you got to think about that. But do we, do we, you know, have to be who we are? I have to be who I am. Because, you know, this court, this Manitoba province, they think they have us in a bag. They think I'm going to go there as Chief Franklin Brown. I'm not. I'm going to go there as Wakando Hitiko Chasta in Miedo. So, when did they charge Wakanda Hitiko Chasta? When did they charge him? They charged. Yeah, I'm not Franklin Brown. That's the tactic I'm going to go there with. And I'm going to speak my language. And I'm going to tell them I'm sovereign. I'm going to ask them, how are you sovereign in my language? That's what I'm going to do. Because I'm a Dakota, and I'm a man. And I've got to stand up for my children and my grandchildren. I have 10 grandchildren already. I have to protect their interests. Because, you know, what's going to happen to them when I step down? Who's going to take over now? So this is what you guys got to think about. You have to put your leadership in place. Not the chief and council. Chief and council belongs to the federal government. Please understand that. They're not your leaders. They're not Dakota. They're not leaders of the Dakota. They represent the federal government. They get paid by them. They're under the Indian Act, which is supposed to be their law. And they're supposed to be Indians. And I refuse to be an Indian. I want to be Dakota. And I am Dakota. And I will be Dakota. And I will die as a Dakota. But this is what I'm asking everybody, what do you want? You can't sit right in, this line here is defense. This is the federal government system we're living, reserved, the sovereign. Which one do you want? You can't be sitting in the fence. You're gonna die anyway. Which one do you want? Because in a month or so, or sooner, or in a couple of months, I'm gonna do a press release, and I'm gonna make a statement. We're gonna develop a sovereign casino. A sovereign casino that's gonna fund Dakota justice. Under this justice, our court system, our securities, our policing will be in there. But also the women have to govern themselves too. And that justice system will be in there. Housing, health, education will be in there. This is what the casino is going to fund our people. And I'm working on reserve oil in my community, Manitoba for reserve. I'm an Indian agent right now working at, I'm the Indian agent, Chief Franklin Brown. So that reserve issue, I'm going to deal with that as Chief Franklin Brown. But outside of that, I'm going to develop this
Hi there, it's the
Dakota
Bardigram.
Nation oil.
Oh, there we go.
The southwestern Manitoba, probably even in Saskatchewan, those Washitus,
This one then.
already
Your copy?
we talked about that.
Don't worry about
We
it.
talked about, so how much land are you gonna need?
There we go. Cheers, thank you.
Well, let's start with 50 sections of land. No problem, we'll get you 50 sections of land. And if you need another 50 sections, we'll get you that, don't worry about that. So I'm working with the white people, southwestern corner of Manitoba. It's the white people that encourage me to do my sovereign casino. We want you to have a casino, they said. In this corner of the province, they said. You can have your casino and whatever, they said. All we want is the spin-off. Fine. So I got their support. Any location I choose, that's where they're gonna give us the land to put that sovereign casino. That's sovereign. You know, the tobacco shop we put federal and provincial on notice that we have sovereign right to do this. And that piece of property I bought for $1, converts back to Dakota territory. It's no longer Canada or province or reserve Dakota territory. That's why they can't shut it down. A statement is made. It's in the media. Whatever you put in the media and it's written, by law, it becomes a document. So we've been documenting everything we're doing. Whatever is written in the Brandon Sonner Free Press, it becomes a document. So we're not as dumb as people think we are. We knew what we were doing. We knew about the free press when we would make statements in the paper. That's a legal document. That's why the government is kind of, their hands are tied right now. They made those mistakes with us. So, what, and that grandfather said to, you know what Canada is going to say? He said, you left the reserve. And sure enough, when we went to court, that's what the province said. All First Nations are under my wing. The only thing they have left in the federal is the reserve. And that's what my grandfather said. Canada is going to say you left the reserve. And exactly that's what the province is saying. That's what we need to understand. And the other thing too was that it's not going to take long to transition. We have to do this. So, and they're going to say, where's your government? I'm the government for my people. But you as supporters, where's your government? And where's our sitting bull? We need to put our sitting bull in place too. Whatever I make a decision, you make decisions. That leader has to take it out. Take it out to where it's supposed to go. That government, we have to seriously think about right now. Because chief and council, your government leaders, their chief administrator, just like the chief of police, chief of health, chief of education. That's where the chief and council are, that area. Program management. That's why the chief and council cannot be heard. So we need to seriously think about this and what are we going to do? Who's going to be my leader? My question. I know I'm leading for my people, but I need a real leader to lead all of us. Who's going to lead all of us? That's the question. But we lead for our families, our siblings. Who's going to be leading the family and the siblings? That's what the question is right now. That's what Dennis was asking. Was that just going to be me leading everybody? But we still need leaders for the family, the siblings. Those are the ones that come to the circle, discuss, the leader will. Just like sitting. These are the things we need to do right now. Like Mickey said, so soon you come, you want each other. That's what I need to discuss with everybody today. We need to make a decision. Are we going to form our own government? Because chief and council is not your government. So we need to do that. Like I was asking my Tamashis that backed me up and got charged. Who's going to be your leader? need to get your family leader and your spokesperson. Then I'll meet with you guys. You have to form the king, minister, or the president, or whatever you want to call it. That we need to do that. So I hope the people understand where I'm coming from, because we have to form a government, a sovereign government. And whoever is chosen has to speak that language. And we all have to. Whoever it is, Canada or the province, we have to go there with our language and speak it. And that's their responsibility to get their own interpreter to understand what we're saying. That's the power you guys are talking about. We have that power. The power will be there when you start speaking, addressing the issues in language. I hope I made it clear enough for everybody to understand and think about it. So anybody wants to say anything, they're welcome.
I like your idea, Chief. Have representatives of different families, different communities. And all work with one figure, one voice. So all those concerns, interests get funneled into one voice.
Yeah.
That speaks for, but only speaks what is being said.
It's not his authority,
Yeah.
authority was given to him.
Working collectively with your family to have a head start. That's essential. We talked about that about a year ago, and, in the same group. At that time, we were supposed to take that back to our families and talk about it some more. Never met right away again like that. So when would you want to get together and everybody will put their name or?
We have that, that's why we need to have these,
Yes.
these head guys, that way communicate and call the meeting. Gotta be soon, because I'm working on my statement right now in a write-up. And I'm gonna make a statement that we are gonna do a solve scene.
So we should all keep going up. And it is a good sweet then also for the family.
Yeah.
I won't start up in.
Yeah,
We're going on. Some other families just want to join in, you know. All the better too.
yeah. I did that back in, when I was chief with, Dennis Parsi, 98, 99. And, my family wanted to get away from community because there's too much animosity. So, all the people that followed me said they wanted me to be the hereditary chief for them. Those guys are in there, the Sutherlands, they're in there. They all signed, but we all signed. And these are the band members, these are the ones that are going into this. But to be who they are is we all sign in our own Dakota names. We wrote them down in Dakota. So these are who we are. This is what we are in the system the 289, Chanungoc Reserve. And this is our name, Franklin Brown. But over here, my Dakota name is, this is who we are. And I presented to INET. And that time, Robert North, remember, he was the Minister of Indian Affairs. And he wrote back and said, in 1984, the funding was capped. So there's nothing they can do to help us or give us funding or give us money for land because the funding was capped. They can't. So from then on, I understood that the funding was capped. So anybody that was born after that are not in that funding. So anybody that was born after that were never funded. But they're using, living off that capped funding that was coming to Brazil. That's how come today we have inadequate funding. Because in our case, our population doubled.
What? City of Rocky.
So there's only half of the community population was funded and the other one was not funded. That's the problem in all First Nation reserves right now. But that time, that we were heading that Dakota Nation. And at that time, Chief Ken Whitecloth, remember he came to our meeting in Brandon here, and he said he wanted to slack off a little bit because the federal government threatened him. If he continues, they were going to cut his funding. So he told us that. So okay, you can do that. We told him, but the rest of us we just went on like that. And then at the closer to the end of my term, I got invited with my chief and counsel to INET. So we went over there. I had 4 counselors and myself, and I had 2 consultants and band manager. That time he was a band manager. We went there, and then it was tabled like this, and they started handing out spreadsheet. Then when I got the spreadsheet, it was our funding, but it was all zeros. So hey, what's this? Oh, by the way, Chief, you're now in receivership. I just crumpled it up and I threw it back. Shove that up your fucking asses. I said. Don't use that language here, he said. You, I said. I'll fucking talk any fucking way I want, I said. Well, what do I have to lose, I said. Tell me, well, what do I have to lose? Nothing, I said. So, I'm going to say goodbye to you fucking assholes, I said. But you know what, I said. I'm going to say thank you, I said. Why? He said, well, you just released us from your government, I said. We are no longer part of your government, I said. So good fucking bye, I said. But you know what, I said, I'm going to go home. We have a charter bus at home, I said. I'm going to go home. I'm going to drive it, I said. Start it up, I'm going to come with some guys. I'm going to come to your glass fucking building here. I'm going to crash it, I said. And then I'm going to tell the world what you guys did. You're freed us. And you're not going to charge me. Because I'm free from you. So that's what I'm going to fucking do, you fucking assholes. But as we're going to leave, hey, Tom, can we speak to you? That was one of our consultants. Tom doesn't speak to you. He works for me. He speaks to you, he's fired. So we went out. We got to the elevator, and then Tom was begging me he wanted to go back and see what they did. I said, Tom, I said, you already did it. I said, we have to do it. We have to do it. You know, so that's what I'm going to do. I said, come on, please, he said. Tom, okay then. I said, give you 5 minutes. I said, Richard, keep time. I said, 4 minutes, we're out of here. Okay, he said, he went in. He directed, oh, we're just about 4 minutes now. I said, we're gonna go. Yeah, we're gonna go. I said, just before 4 minutes, he said, oh, he came back. He had that spreadsheet. All the numbers were back. A week later, we got invited back to INET, but it was to the corporate services. I understood after that. Corporate services, we were invited there and we went there. I'm really bad with names. I can't remember names. But I always remember that guy's name. Arun Dighi, that was his name. He was in the corporate services. And he said, Chief Brown, sit down. I said, my staff is going to come in. Okay. So, one by one, they came in and said, let's do an introduction. So we did an introduction. We finished and he said, Chief Brown, he said, my staff is going to apologize to you and your council. For what? I said, for what they did to you. So, okay, I said, if you're going to apologize, I want it in writing. Okay. He started apologizing. At the very end, he's one of the, I forget his name, but he was in the social program. He refused to apologize. So he said, second time I'm going to ask you. He said, third time you're fired. He said, yeah, apologize. I went through that kind of hell in that term. And I never wanted to be in that position again. But here I am again, you know, like, I'm in the same position again. But this one, I'm kind of enjoying it a little bit. So, you know, that's what I went through. But I understood that time when they took the funding away, and they weren't expecting that. But me too, it just came out with that, you know. You're walking ourselves for famous. That made him panic. They put all the funding back on again. So we're out of receivership after that. And they gave us a whole bunch of money back on programs that we should have got a long time ago. Some of them we can go back as far as we can. They said, there's 2 of them we can go back 20 years. They said, and there's 2 of them 10 years. So, but I lost my election that following year, so then we lost all that. See, that 2-year election is no good. It's designed for you not to finish anything. And that's what happened. All that fight and battle and winning it, I didn't win nothing. So I lost it all. I lost my election. But this system I'm talking about, our own government system, is not going to fail because we're all going to be here. Address it. Go. But as a chief and council, I'll be out of here. So, but our sovereign government will be awesome. I know that. I know that. So we need to meet soon again, and we need to know where we're going to go. I know some of us, we might not want to go that way. Or some of us, we might not be able to leave our dishes in our laundry. So that's going to be the problem. So thank you for listening to me. So any final comment or what? I need some comments to it.
Morgan?
Frank?
Frank, get Yeah, we say something, right, all right.
I don't know what to say because I don't know what you're talking about.
You know, you got Dakota out there now.
I'll just come to listen because it's.
Tanya, I hear you. Tanya, I hear you. You're
Doing a good job. Well, I can't say anything because I'm first time at the meeting. Don't really know the history, so if I say anything wrong, I might offend somebody, so I wouldn't want to say anything.
Please, you're not gonna offend anybody.
I guess I'll only say one thing. I think as leadership, we gotta be transparent, we gotta be accountable to our people. If we don't do that, then it doesn't matter what we do, we're gonna make mistakes. And people are gonna get upset. So those are the key words I use is transparent and accountability to the people, our people, not the government.
You think we're all happy you said that?
I guess that's sort of a trying to develop my code, you know, it has been in a political field for like, you know, that's the only way to go, is treat everybody the same, be consistent, be fair. But that's the problem we have today, you know, amongst the leadership, is sometimes we don't do that. And it's always the chief and council creating divisions because of the decisions we make. So, I'm always watching that and making sure everybody's treated fair and be consistent in your decisions. Have some kind of a written policy procedures amongst themselves that is approved by the community. So nobody can say that using your own policy procedures or the government. As long as we have that and follow it, I think we'll get along. If we can't get along, then what Frank is saying, it will never happen. And our children watch all the time, they listen. We gotta be careful what we say, what we do. You know, he talked to us, I was 11 years old, 11, he's 12 now. I just want to use an example. I remember I went to the gas bar. I seen a sign, I was reading up a sign on a bulletin board. Conserve water. Telling our community now where the houses are. And just then the trailers, house trailers are being put there. And guy says, where does it say again? So I read back to him. Well, how come they put in those trailers there? That's going to take up more water. How come those trailers are coming? Well, you see, even 11-year-old, 11 and a half years old, you know, it's definitely smarter than us. Their grandparents. So just watch what we say, what we do in front of them, or see to them. It's not just my recognition, I guess, of my observation, I guess, today. But as long as we're not together, that goal that we want to achieve, it's going to take a while. But I think that if we can utilize the power we have is unity, right? We can bring everybody together somehow. And that somehow is the one that's going to be a big challenge for us. Because on the way there, sometimes a little bit of jealousy, you know, a little bit of unfairness creeps up on us, and we don't always follow. And I guess this is what my some of the people will see. If you don't do that, then you're the problem. You're creating this division in our community. So it's a big task we have today. So we've got to be mindful and watch all the time. But we can do it. Boss don't cut the boss with John. Boss will change you. We'll check you into the shop. Yet you skunk cookie. Okay, Okei, kaktus on pitänyt olla. So, Dakota, ki je star pavrič vitane, Dakota voda kap kabučki. Ja, kavaštek toki. So, no, Dakota ki je voda kap, I don't think we should be afraid what else, who else will come and listen. Whatever we have here, whatever you have here, if it's all shared, it doesn't matter who it is, it could be your worst enemy. We each have to look up there. Look out there, but this will come around. Watch it, you're going to be which is Michelle. What I did.
No. I'd like to add on something there, Frank. No, not God. You ain't did not eat, no. You knew you have to copy. No. Come on, woman's group, huh? Here do you know, I'm talking to now, Frank, and we need to get the youth involved too, I know. Because a lot of our young ones, women, she just retire. You need to really get them involved, you know. Who's going to do what's I hope you know, stick to all now. When we saw the Amos, you know, I've seen a whole bunch of people here tonight and really happy. I'm trying to want to take out there. It's how to get off there. And on the talk with the history of the county, it's how to joke across there. Because we all have something to add. On talk with you, Tony, go. Then, was the Scotland or take a theatre. But you know, they still well don't come on. I don't need the motor. And Hannah, Gawky, I'm going to do the TV Potter. It is a mark. Hey, how? Called the whole number one highway. Horses here on care. I down southeast, Hannah. Hannah out that song ahead. Hit to Hannah. I think it was kind of a community garden, Carl. It must have been about 100 acres. South end and I each year. Each we talk so bumping each year, come bumping. Going to Reuben Hall. We talked to him a bit, it's too bad it. Okay, now, was no. They made a root cellar, had some carpet. Tonka into the hill, the root cellar gone, and all I'm going and up to quiet and go. But you know that that respect and everything was their head off. Okay, and now my head, a root cellar is just like an ordinary cellar, but I knew where we do it quite a queer each there. We keeps beets, carrots, onions, whatever, and then you can. People trusted so much each other. You went to home, but don't be starting each other. 80 hours each other. I know that. Okay. This is quite common in Sioux Valley and Hana because there's no welfare, but oaks up, you know. The talk was here now, so what I'm leading up to is that the line hits a pig here, hit the south end of Chet, the east end there. Well, like right now, talk was Scumba, must go in each other there. We're flat broke, but it's a Scumba, you know. And I'm a coach in the south end and they too, but I talk out to soup there. Could I ain't for do to and I hate you, and I on hates a Scumba. After was about 3 chickens, and there's no welfare in the cup. everybody was trying to survive. Everybody had chickens, pigs, cattle, trying to child. But grain and not tied the chocolate. I know go. I don't know. A load of wheat was. I think it was a 60 bushels. Probably 60. And then it got a better. But the hunter till it talk a court targets we up to Moscow need to. We need to head south then and then change the Cuba H and that was you Moscow up there. The whites from what you still talk was cheated up the whites was and not go up the all I wanted them to do a study for me. Okay, now inside one day something. 640 acres, one section of land. I had to put a pivot right in the center, and on the water, you have a corner, and the heights, it's just one helicopter. Okay, it came to almost 100 acres, less. 550 acres, hedge, $1 million coming up, selling it to McCain's, or Simplot or whatever. But over the night, the $1 million coming up today, he told the Enanic families in Kavana, Dakota, and potato chips, and they eat cow mashed potatoes or whatever they can, all the potato stock for street cow, and they eat a chunk. We can make $3 million instead of making McCain's and Simplot rich, and I'm cooking that. Because why I say that is, from down east, see to the oak shots, it's easier for the farmer to hire a whole bunch of people and harvest all their potatoes, and they don't care if you lose $2 million because they make more than that. Considered all the chat town, and we ain't got here, but he's a yazon because the potato country extends right to the border into the United States. But I not out the wing and yaw and the only people. He said that the whites are committee, and that was about 25 years ago. We ain't yaw and he hates me, touch you. You're only making McCain's, and no carnation apple, no potatoes. You're only making them rich out. Ditch the Chanukka, you make more money. But it was easier for them to harvest it and to storage, and then they could winter down in Florida. It's easier. Huh? Oh, the hunter, the wing I had the heap is trying to entice the farmers. They're making the potato, the chip companies like McCain's, Simplot, and all these guys. They're making them rich. They're making millionaires. And they were cheating them too, because when they haul in the potatoes, a lot of them goes to junk out, And we chow now, But other needs to suck, so they're a delicacy at a cafe, I know which it goes. That's garbage. We chow now, but and it all came to light at the end. We have the lays out with the honey, in those potatoes, lays potatoes. And we have ate you. I know you have. I think the United States bought them out or something. I think they gave them $500 million or something like that. So there's so many things. The Dakota, the nature, and then we can help people. Not a stock here on zero. No one has it's going to hate out the Scott of all these stealing crap of the kids. That's quite common in all the reserves. He's a theater, he's a Dakota, has a year to go catch up on the car. Come on, get up and do something instead of playing them games all night, huh? I hate you too, But we don't know much of so Mom did, and I want to instill that into into our young ones. Daar was stukjes to schaars komen, daar wordt het de groep op and it's going to blossom. You share with that, I just want to share this with you and you guys, like I've clean and I can't help it. I wanted to tape you on it.
Oh, no, not that, John. Go ahead and talk up. Anybody else want to say anything, or if not, wherever, hold your peace.
Forever, keep quiet.
Or she should stand, or she could, confident.
Dakota. Maniptikindina. Dakota. Nehedi chedina. Dako bichukota. Suppose you are staying. Dano no guy. And I said, I don't want to go. Okay, to today, what to pick it up. Not a good talk, the orange. That's a good. That's a good.